Today we're setting up a Dreame X40 Ultra. Last year I got the Dreame L20 and loved it, so this year I thought I would pay it forward, and thanks to all you subscribers, I was able to get this X40 for my brother. My brother takes care of the land out on a farm, and as a consequence there's a lot of dust that gets in his house. They're an amazing family and I want to help them out, so today we're going to see how the Dreame X40 works in this farmhouse. Inside the box you'll find things to set up the vacuum, including this brush with a hooked razor blade that's used to cut off string stuck on a roller. They also include an extra vacuum bag. This is a ramp that's similar to the L21, and I'll attach it to the dock later. Inside this box is the vacuum, and I can already tell that it's quite a bit lighter than the L20. It feels lighter, but it looks to be the same size as last year's model. However, this new dock is definitely smaller than last year's model, and that's fantastic because the L20 dock was quite large. So let's take a closer look at the dock, starting with the bottom. Inside are the two vacuum hoses, followed by the two chargers and the water line. The dock is about 10 1/8 inches deep and 13 1/8 inches wide. And the dock height is about 23 freedom units tall. The back is a little different than the L20. There's an on-off switch and an optional water line hookup so you don't have to fill up the water tanks. The power cord setup is great because you can set it in these grooves and it makes it look a lot cleaner not having wires hanging everywhere. When I went to plug it in, I found there's a little cavity that the power cord sits in so it sits flush against the wall. Hats off to you, Dreame, for that design. Just like last year's model, the front of the dock comes off, and the vacuum bag is stored in this chamber. The vacuum bags have this little cover so it doesn't get dust everywhere when you take it out. The container for the cleaner fluid is now located in the front, and I'm going to dump the cleaner in there now. To finish setting up the dock, I need to fill up the clean water container full of water. There's two containers on the top, and the black one is for the dirty water, and the white one is for the clean water. I'm only going to fill it with warm water instead of hot water because I don't want the container to melt. And now we're good to go. I did grab the old docking station to show you the difference in size, and you can see the L20 dock is much larger. The L20 is 11 3/4 by about 16 3/4, while the new one is just over 13 by 10. So a big improvement if you have limited space. Now if you need help like I do setting up new electronics, Dreame's got your back and included this quick start guide. The dock's ready, so I'm moving to step 3, which is setting up the vacuum. First thing I'm going to do is take off all the plastic. With the plastic removed, I can see it's a pretty similar setup to last year's model, and it has the vacuum chamber as well as the two charging ports and water outlet. On the outside there's some vents and speakers as well as cameras. Speaking of cameras, this thing has a lot. On the front alone there's 3 cameras that help guide it as well as a large spotlight. This top portion is a LiDAR navigation system that works with the cameras, and there's a safety bumper just in case the cameras fail. On the top are the spot cleaning, power, and go home to the dock buttons. You can actually open up the back behind the LiDAR sensor and pull out the filter and clean it if necessary. Underneath the filter is the vacuum, which has the suction power of 12,000 Pascal, which is pretty crazy. That suction power should be able to clean just about anything on hardwood floor or carpet. If you flip it over, you can see how the vacuum works. There are 2 alternating motored wheels that have very strong grips, and a non-scratch roller that can be used on wet or dry hardwood floors. To help with dust in the corners are these extendable arms, and I'll have to check those out later. I threw on the 2 mop pads, and now the vacuum's ready to go. Out of curiosity, I did bring in my L20 to compare the two, and they're nearly identical except for the accessible filter on the X40. Both devices sit about 4 inches tall, and are just over about 13 inches wide. So that's enough talk, let's get this thing going. Before I put this in the dock to charge, I'm going to make sure to attach the 2 magnetic mop pads. Then I'll throw it in the docking bay. And by golly, that little robot loves to be home in its dock. I let the robot charge, and now I'm ready to connect it to the Dreame Home app. To pair it up, I'm going to download the Dreame Home app, and then it tells me to scan a QR code, which is located on the back of the vacuum. I'm going to pull up my camera, scan the QR code, then dock it back in the station. Then I'll hold down the home and spot clean buttons to pair it to the network.
Waiting for the network configuration. Network connected successfully.
It's paired, so I'll install any updates.
Updating, taking about 5 minutes.
It took about 15 minutes to install the updates, so now I'll go to the device, and I have an option to start mapping out the home. Before I map the house, I'm going to remove any obstacles and block any areas I don't want the robot to go. Then I'll select Start Mapping.
Start mapping.
And the little robot will go do its thing. As it's driving around, it's using its infrared and LiDAR distance sensor to create a map of the house. And it's doing it real time, which is really cool to see. After it got done driving around, it created a full map of this house. What's most impressive is that it understood what the rooms were used for and correctly labeled them. Good job, robot. Map's done, so let's clean the house.
Start cleaning.
After I hit the start cleaning button, the vacuum took off and went to the most distant room in the house. And when it got there, it immediately started to mop. I'm glad it did the study room first because this had the most furniture inside of it, and I wanted to see how it would handle it. As you can see here, it first avoided going on the rug and only cleaned the floors. After it mopped the entryway, it decided to go into vacuum mode and started cleaning the rug. The threads on this carpet are about 3/4 inch thick and it had no problem going over them. When it got done with the rug, it switched back into mopping mode and started cleaning the floor. When I got the vacuum, I didn't know it did this, but it's perfect because it has extendable brush arms, and these really help it clean hard to reach areas. The little mop feet also extend out and clean around obstacles. It cleaned the 90-degree corner perfectly fine, and it kept spinning around when it saw this electric cord, and I'll show you why later. I wanted to see how it handled furniture with small openings, and it ended up going underneath them no problem. Because it has the extendable brush arms and mop feet, it can go around very tight corners. I also realized how valuable a vacuum like this is for a house with raised furniture, because those areas can be very hard to dust or mop, and it's not fun lifting up a couch or moving it, so these robots are perfect for that situation. Now here the robot started to act a little funny, because it started to randomly drive around the room, then sped off back to the docking station, and I quickly realized it probably sucked up a spicy burrito off the floor when I wasn't looking. Much better.
Start cleaning mop pads.
When it was finished, the mops automatically started to clean themselves, and after about 2 minutes it was ready to go. It went back at it, and this time it started to clean the living room. This time it immediately went into vacuum mode and started to clean the large rug. When it was finished, it went down the hallway and started to clean the area by the stairs. I have to admit, I was very nervous about it falling down the stairs, especially when it started driving near the edge. Somehow it knew these were stairs, and it cleaned the area around it just fine without falling down. After it cleaned this area, it went back to its home again, emptied the dirty water, and was good to go. For the next area, it decided it was going to clean the hall and entryway, which is great because I wanted to see how it handled the rough doormat, and not surprisingly, it was able to clean it perfectly fine. After vacuuming the mat, it switched to the mopping mode and did an amazing job mopping the hallway. After it got done cleaning the hallway, I took a second to check out some of the features on the app, and I saw it had created a 3D model of the house and knew even where the tile was located. The map even included the direction of the floorboards. And while it was cleaning, it noted all the obstacles and objects on the floor. As I mentioned earlier, it found a power cord and notated it as a potential obstacle. That's super cool, and I'll move it out of the way for the next cleaning. It also recognized this very light rug as a fabric obstacle, so I'll either need to move it or find a way to stick it to the ground. It was so advanced that it actually mapped out the size of the rug. On this screen, I can see the actual path the vacuum took to clean the rooms, and I can adjust them for the next cleaning. In addition to the map, the Dreame app also gives me a status of the vacuum. It's done cleaning, so I'm going to empty the vacuum bag, then I'll drain the dirty water. I rinsed it out with a hose, but you can empty it out in a sink or bathtub. To show this last feature, I brought in special guests Murphy and Muffin. These two little doggies have invaded this home, and unfortunately for these intruders, I'm able to use the camera on the vacuum to check out my home. I can take video and photos and live stream anywhere in the world while I'm away from my home. Super cool. I want to mention too that the 6400 mAh battery is fantastic. I mapped the house and deep cleaned multiple rooms and still have about 75% battery life left. There's tons of other features I didn't cover, and I highly recommend picking up a Dreame X40 from the links below, especially if you enjoy having a deep cleaned house. If this video helped you, please go out and help someone else. Thanks for watching.